experience!
This is the Week 6 updated rankings, DraftKings ownership report, and pivots, plus props, plus Underdog. Everything you need to know. I'm Pat Mayo. This is presented by Underdog Fantasy. If you want to hit the time codes, jump around to the topic you want, do it. You want to smash the like? I suggest that very much. And sub to Mayo Media Network as well. If you want a list of the full rankings and injuries, the cheat sheet version, hit the description. You get the link over at 4for4.com right now. Completely free to join. You can do that to my newsletter as well. Get it sent directly to you on Saturday evening so you don't have to check back before the early London game this week to make sure that everyone is in or out of your lineups properly. All right, Jaylen Warren is in for the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Cleveland Browns. So Kenneth Gainwell, probably back to your bench. Jaylen Warren, not a great matchup anyway. Will do more in the receiving game than he will in the rushing game against the number 1 rated Cleveland Browns run defense. He's in the mid-20s in the running back rankings and half-point PPR this week. Chuba Hubbard is out for the Carolina Panthers. Do not expect what you got out of Rico Dowdle a week ago. Still, he is a borderline must-start, top 15 in the running back rankings this time around. Still an excellent play on DraftKings as well at the price point below $6,000. This one is interesting and something to watch out for Monday Night Football. Chris Rodriguez has a calf injury and he's leaning out at the moment. He's been downgraded during practice. Maybe the very late Saturday injury report will update this, but if he is out, I bumped up Bill Krosky, merit inside the top 15 at running back this week. He's just been progressing more and more and more every single week, and the explosion rate off the charts good. Still, in this matchup against the Bears, who do not have a very good defense, although it is getting a lot healthier at the moment coming off of its bye week, Jeremy McNichols is like a chip in a chair type play, or chip in a chair in a prayer at this point. He's just inside the top 40 at running back. You don't know what to expect too much from him, but in a game that's projected for a lot of points, you could do worse with a backup running back who you know is probably going to still get 30% of the snaps or so should Chris Rodriguez be out for this game, which it is looking like at the moment. Bucky Irving, this one we know. He's out this week against the San Francisco 49ers. Rachaad White will take the primary role in that game with Sean Tucker backing him up. I have Rachaad White number 13 in the running back rankings this week. Aaron Jones is still on injured reserve. He may be back next week for the Minnesota Vikings coming off of its bye week. Trey Benson out at least another 3 weeks. Michael Carter I have ranked as the highest of the Arizona Cardinals running backs for the second consecutive week. Not a great matchup against the Indianapolis Colts, a good defense, and they are a sizable underdog in this game, and Kyler Murray might miss it as well. More on that in a little bit to see what's going on, but that would be bad news for anyone associated with the Cardinals right now. Omarion Hampton has been placed on injured reserve. Obviously, Najee Harris with the torn Achilles is out for the year for the Chargers. They may make a trade. Currently, I am going Vidal over Haskins. Vidal Sassoon into your lineup. So soon? Yes. Maybe so. He's more of the receiving back than the on-the-ground back. And as favorites against Miami, this might be a Haskins game. I know that I am in opposition for what the projections at 4for4.com say right now. They like Haskins. I like Vidal. I think the upside is a little bit higher. And because of the offensive line injuries for the Chargers right now, like there's no one on the left side of the ball, even on the right side of the ball. There's really no one there anymore either. That I don't know how effective the running game is going to be against a really bad Dolphins defense. They're going to try it probably with Haskins. If that doesn't work, that means they're going to have to get the ball out very quickly, which I do think leans Vidal. We'll have more confirmation on how this is going to shake out after this week, probably at least who's going to get all the goal line work. It might just be Justin Herbert for all we know. If I was in a spot, I'd play Vidal. I'd want to wait and see if that was more the case. Miles Sanders out for the season for the Cowboys, so great news for Javonte Williams owners, and Jaden Blue is going to be active for this game as he was a week ago. He's probably not going to do much against the Panthers in terms of actually getting opportunities, but he is most definitely someone you want to pick up and own for the moment, because if anything happens to Williams, all of a sudden, all of that hype around Blue from the preseason may actually come to fruition, so get him on your roster if he is available still in your league right now. Antonio Gibson on the Patriots is out for the season, so a slight boost to Ramondre, a slight boost to Henderson, but as we've seen the Patriots so far, we have no idea where the ball was going in that game, especially out of the backfield. They're going to start with Henderson, and maybe 7 fumbles in a game later, they might be able to get Henderson to double-digit carries in a game like that. Until I see it, I probably will not believe it. They're decent starts this week. I have Ramondre 2 spots ahead of Henderson, but they're still in the low 20s outside of running back 2 territory. If you want to play them based on a hunch, go for it, but nothing would suggest at this point that either one of them is reliable in your fantasy lineups whatsoever. Wide receiver injuries. Alan Lazard is out for the early game in London due to personal issues. For Monday Night Football, Darnell Mooney has a hamstring injury. He's leading out right now. So good news for Kyle Pitts, good news for Drake London, and whoever else wants to get involved. We'll see if Casey Washington ends up back in that game. Either way, right now, it would just be London and Pitts, and against a bad Bills defense, so that's where I would want to go on Monday Night Football. Even if Mooney plays, you're probably not going to want to play him because he's probably going to be on a limited snap count anyway. Zay Flowers is going to be in, likely, for the Baltimore Ravens. Should you play him? Not if you don't have to. With Cooper Rush playing quarterback, not going to be great against that Rams defense, which is quite good, by the way. I have him at number 27 in the wide receiver rankings. He's probably going to have to be in on your season-long roster unless you just have a plethora of fantastic options, or play in one of those 2 wide receiver leagues with 2 flexes where you only have to play 2 receivers. Then you can probably shove him to your bench, but if anyone's going to do anything in this game as a receiver, it's probably going to be Zay Flowers. Put it this way. On the DraftKings show on Friday, we stacked up the Rams side of the ball. We saw if we could get Stafford, Puka, and Adams into a single lineup just to try to blow out against the Ravens. It's very difficult to do because of the pricing. Now, Zay Flowers isn't that much money, and we didn't even consider throwing him into that lineup as a bringback because you just don't want any part of it right now. Jalen Coker is interesting, though. He has a quad injury. He's returning off of the injured reserve. His practice window is open. They are not ruling him out. He's limited practice on Wednesday, 2 full practices in a row. I think that he is going to play for the Panthers. Now, for your season-long lineups, it's more likely a wait-and-see scenario, coming off a major quad injury, which did keep him out for a significant period of time, had to miss the first 5 weeks of the season because of this. Now, for DFS, he's very cheap and coming back in a very good matchup against a very bad defense. Even in a season-long lineup, if you've been waiting on Coker, he might only play half the snaps. Now, the difference between the two would be there's a price point attached to him on DraftKings. He's not very much money. You can throw him in. You probably don't have to do that in a season-long lineup, but it's a very intriguing spot for them right now. I'd probably, if it came down to it, play Flournoy over Coker in the same game from the other side of the ball, knowing that he's still widely available in most leagues. It just seems like with Kevontae Turpin out, that's where he's going to run the majority of his routes on the Dallas side of the ball over Tolbert, who I thought would be good last week. Now watch it be a Tolbert week, because that's always what ends up happening when everyone jumps on one side. But Coker's interesting. I have him just outside the top 50 at receiver. For Flournoy, I have him inside the top 40 because CeeDee Lamb is out again. Kevontae Turpin is out again. Expect a lot of George Pickens, a lot of Flournoy, a lot of Jake Ferguson, a lot of Javonte Williams, and fingers crossed, maybe Jalen Tolbert gets himself back into it. A new injury to speak of for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They got no one. They're losing ever. Egbuka, very healthy. Top 5 receiver this week. Everyone else, who knows? Chris Godwin has a new fibula injury. He is out probably for multiple weeks. Mike Evans has already been ruled out. As mentioned before, we have Bucky Irving already ruled out. So the receiving game is going to look like something of Egbuka, Sterling Shepard. Maybe Cade Otton gets himself back into the mix this time around. I bumped him up in the tight end rankings a little bit. I made Sterling Shepard a top 45 option. I don't trust him a ton, but this could be a back and forth game in that 49ers Tampa Bay game in Tampa with pretty good weather this week as well. So just keep watching out. It doesn't seem to matter to Baker and his fantasy prospects, so we can bring guys along with him if he needs to. Christian Watson is going to be out again for the Green Bay Packers. He hasn't played at all this season. He did not open up in terms of getting his practice window fully resolved. He has 14 more days to get back onto the field. Ricky Purcell is out. Ricky Bullets for the San Francisco 49ers. Juwan Jennings looking like he is going to play. So Jennings, Bourne, Demarcus Robinson. No George Kittle expected back for this game. So if you're speaking in tongues or you need Will Ferrell playing tight end, don't do that. Just don't play either one of those guys. Find a better option at this point. Hell, even play Harold Fannett, who's backing up Njoku at this point. I would play Juwan Jennings. I would play Kendrick Bourne. I have Jennings as a top 20 receiver because he's always been the guy, even with Mac Jones, whenever he is on the field. Now, if he gets hurt again for like the third time this year, it happens. But with Kendrick Bourne, was he the benefactor of everyone being out last week? That's what led to the big game. Maybe. There's also a pretty nice matchup against a pass funnel defense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So expect a big number in terms of targets for McCaffrey, for Jennings, I guess I was going to say Purcell, but he's not playing, so definitely not him. For Kendrick Bourne is who I meant. And even Demarcus Robinson in this spot. If you can find like an over-under of 1.5, 2.5 receptions for Demarcus Robinson, that's probably the better value of anyone on the board this week of that offense. Terry McLaurin is leading out for Monday Night Football. Noah Brown is tracking to be back in that spot. So Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey, who knows? You weren't playing those goobers anyway. So it's going to be Debo, maybe Noah Brown. Probably still don't want to play Noah Brown. He's outside the top 50 at wide receiver right now, but interesting to see if you track his progress going forward. Calvin Austin, 316, is out for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. So it's DK Metcalf and a bunch of losers. Probably more Jonnu Smith in our life is honestly where I would probably turn to if you need a plug and play. Earlier we talked about Jake Tongs. Yeah, maybe, or Tonges, as he likes to pronounce his name, which doesn't make any sense. That's not how anyone pronounces any name. Tongs is what we're going to go with, because that actually is how it's spelled. I don't care how you think you pronounce it. It's not how it's pronounced. Just like Trevor Etienne, it's Etienne. That's how it's pronounced. You're from Louisiana. It's a French colony. You say it French. That's how it works, okay? That is your etymology update for today from Pat Mayo of how to properly pronounce names. Or just however they want to pronounce them. Say them how you want. Who cares? Where was I going with this? Yes, Calvin Austin and Jonnu Smith. I would rather play Jonnu Smith in that spot, and hopefully he ends up being their de facto wide receiver too. Quentin Johnston, interesting, has this hamstring injury. Not much really came out about it on Friday. He did practice in a limited capacity. Maybe he goes. If he was a last-second inactive, I wouldn't be stunned. I had him as the top-rated Chargers receiver of the week against the Dolphins. I bumped him down to number 2, actually to number 3. They're all kind of sandwiched in. It goes Keenan, Ladd, and Quentin Johnston right now, only because of the injury. If he gets a full, clear bill of health, then I would move him back to number 1 of that move, but they're still between 19 and 26 in the wide receiver rankings. All three better options than someone like Zay Flowers this week. Alec Pierce will be back in with his concussion problems that kept him out the past 2 weeks. Longest reception for Alec Pierce is always on the table, as long as he can stay in the game without suffering another concussion at this point. But other than him, it's like, Ashton Doolin's not going to be doing much here against the Arizona Cardinals because Pierce is going to be back on the field. Pittman, Downs, Pierce in that order. Obviously the best play among them being Jonathan Taylor, then Tyler Warren. Those are the really only 2 Colts you have to play, with Pittman being just behind him. Pierce is more of a, I need a long touchdown and I have no one else to play. That's the route that you probably would end up going with him. Curtis Samuel on Monday Night Football for the Bills has a neck injury and a ribs injury. He's probably not going to play. Cedric Tillman has a hamstring injury, obviously still on injured reserve right now. So Isaiah Bond will get a bit more run in this game, although against the Steelers with Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, you're definitely not going to want to play him. Maybe if Gabriel can develop as we go along here and look a little bit better, but in another short, it's not even a short rest week. It's just coming back from London to play the Steelers. Not an optimal spot on the road. Maybe give him a few weeks to see if he can figure all this out. Ayuk has not returned to practice yet for the San Francisco 49ers, so more on him in the future. And Darius Slayton did not play on Thursday Night Football with a hamstring problem. Not an issue, and it looked like it was little Jordan Humphrey. Little Jordan. Not a little guy, by the way. Kind of a big guy. He seemed to be working as the number 2 to Wan'Dale Robinson in that game, and was actually used quite a lot down the field. You thought that would be Jalen Hyatt, but it wasn't. It was little Jordan Humphrey. For the Raiders, at tight end, Brock Bowers is out with a knee injury. Michael Mayer is back in with a concussion issue. He's been taken off the injury report. Mayer, I don't have a lot of high hopes for. Tight end number 19 for the week. Again, Jonnu Smith is someone who is a better option this week. Colston Loveland, is leaning in with a hip injury on Monday Night Football. His confirmation will be had on Saturday evening. So again, subscribe to that newsletter. I'll try to release that on Saturday night. That is a spot where you can probably get your update from there. I'll have the rankings updated on 4for4 as well. Again, find that down in the description, completely free right now, okay, Jatavion Sanders is leaning back in with his ankle injury for the Panthers in a glorious matchup against the Cowboys. If he's back, he was a favorite of Bryce Young earlier on in the season. We'll see if he gets the clean bill of health. No word yet on exactly if he's going to be active or not. George Kittle is expected out with a hamstring injury for the 49ers against the Buccaneers. If you don't have him again, Cade Otton, Jonnu Smith, these are the guys that are available right now that you can go and pick up more than likely. Brenton Strange has a hip injury. He's been placed on injured reserve, although it does seem like he may be out for more than the minimum of 4 weeks because he's going to end up getting surgery. Don't worry about their Hunter Long. I played him on DraftKings because he's the min and he leads the team in touchdowns, but he doesn't really do anything except for catch touchdowns and be used in the red zone. It's not like you're going to pile up a 6 point. I mean, you might pile up a 7 point game from him because he has a catch for 1 yard and a touchdown, but you're not going to get like 4 catches for 49 yards, more than likely, from Hunter Long, unless his role dramatically changes in that regard. Lamar Jackson is out for the Ravens. That means Cooper Rush is starting, which means don't play your Ravens. Easy game. Brock Purdy is out for the 49ers. It's looking like Mac Jones is going to start. He has been limited all week in practice, but it seems like he's going to play on the road. Joe Flacco was traded to the Cincinnati Bengals, and now all of a sudden he is starting over Jake Browning. I did bump up T. Higgins, and I bumped up Mike Gesicki, and I bumped up Jamar Chase. That's another guy. Jamar Chase. Yeah, he's one you might want to consider playing. It's not a great matchup, obviously, in this spot, but against the Packers. We already saw what Flacco did against the Packers earlier this season, but it should be huge garbage time. And he's willing to throw the ball down the field. Whether or not it's intercepted or not, who knows? But he's going to give them chances to make a play on the ball. Finally, Kyler Murray is kind of the biggest one of the week. He has his foot injury. He's questionable. He hasn't been practicing. He might not play for the Cardinals, which if that happens, they're getting Jacoby Brissett, and everyone on the Cardinals takes a massive step down in the rankings. Trey McBride would cease being the number 1 tight end. He would be like the number 7 tight end. Tyler Warren would end up being number 1. I wouldn't want to play Marvin Harrison Jr. I barely want to play him on. Actually, that's not true. I do want to play him. He's actually a pretty good play this week if Kyler ends up going. If Kyler does not end up going, look for other options. Michael Carter, look for other options. Any Cardinal you were thinking about playing outside of McBride probably becomes a sit if Jacoby Brissett ends up playing quarterback for the Cardinals in Indy this week. You know how much time I spend researching bets and lineups and shows and getting everything ready for you? So when it's actually time to sleep, I need it to count. That's why I switched to a Helix mattress, and honestly, game changer. I have Helix mattresses all over my house. My wife and I have one. The guest room has one. My kids have one. I got a kid on the way, and eventually they're going to have one too. Even Jared over at the studio living there, I got him a Helix mattress as well. Populated with Helix. You need to do it too. I used to wake up with a stiff back and night sweats. Now I just sleep through the night. No tossing around, no overheating. It's just comfortable and supportive. I took their quiz, I tailored it to myself, and boom, I got exactly what I needed from the mattress I deserve. I think you deserve a nice one too. So go to helixsleep.com/Mayo for 27% off and exclusive to Pat Mayo Experience listeners. That's helixsleep.com/Mayo for 27% off. Make sure to enter my show name after checkout so they know I sent you. helixsleep.com/Mayo. For over a century, Johnnie Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereux Golf, Johnnie Walker introduces the Johnnie Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, Blue Label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnniewalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Did you know that October 10th is World Mental Health Day? And this year, BetterHelp is shining the spotlight on therapists, people who truly make the world a better place. BetterHelp has quality therapists working according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the United States. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally, and it works. With an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. This World Mental Health Day, we're celebrating the therapists who have helped millions of people take a step forward. If you're ready to find the right therapist for you, BetterHelp can help you start that journey. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/PatMayo. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PatMayo. Reminder that I am streaming Red Zone live starting at kickoff on Sunday of the early slate of games, not for the London game. 1 p.m. Eastern Time on playback.tv is where you can stream Red Zone along with me. That will be in sync and we can talk about it together. It's me, Cust, Jared, whoever else is in the room as we're watching at the office. It's an absolute laugh. We're also going to be streaming it on the Mayo Media Network YouTube channel, but we do not have the rights to Red Zone up there, so you'll just be watching us in the room as we watch TV. But if you do want someone to hang out with and you're just watching the games by yourself, just want to listen, I don't watch it with a ton of we don't watch it with volume on anyway because we're watching like 8 games at once. If you're someone who also wants to do that and have a companion piece with you as we talk about the games, it's not just Red Zone. I mean, we're watching Red Zone, but we are talking about everything that's happening in the games. Just come hang with us. It's a very good time. You can sub to that right now. Go set the reminder on YouTube on the Mayo Media Network. Sub to that. You can always jump into the chat there as well. Additionally, playback.tv, the PME's room, is where you can find me and Cust and the entire team streaming that. All right, let's jump over to coolbet.com because I did want to talk about a few props so far this week. If you go to the PME weekly boost down the left-hand side, you will see 4 props that I really like. I got them to smash them all together for us on coolbet.com. You can jump down into the description if you're in Canada outside of Ontario. You can get into Coolbet right now. Fastest payouts in the biz, plus the PME exclusives. I got Keishon Butte over 25 yards in this game against the New England Patriots, or against the New Orleans Saints. Sorry, he's on the New England Patriots going up against the New Orleans Saints in this spot. The biggest thing is that Drake May has targeted Keishon Butte on 20% of his throws when he is not pressured. And guess who's in the bottom 3 of the league in generating pressure? That would be the New Orleans Saints. Of note, Chase Young is going to return to play for them, so maybe that does make a substantial difference in this spot. But if they're not going to get pressure on May, he has a clean pocket. That is when he looks for Butte. Anytime touchdown's a nice play. Just simply over 25 yards is probably the look that I want to go with and the look that I did go with up on Coolbet right now, as you can see up on the screen. So you put him with Kamara under 45.5 rushing yards. He's banged up already. Kendry Miller's already eating into his workload, and it's against a very good run defense in the Patriots, so under 45.5 rushing yards. Romadunze, we're going to have to sweat that. If we go 3-0 on Sunday, we got to sweat out a Dunze longest reception on Monday evening against the against the Commanders, who love giving up really deep shots, and that's the guy I trust the most on the Bears to come down with one of those deep shots. And then we have Stafford, 35-plus longest completion. He has completed at least one 35-yard pass in every game this season. Not quite sure if the Ravens defense is going to be the one to stop that, albeit a little bit healthier, just not all the way back. Let's go over to Underdog. You can see there's a soccer only 30% boost. There's a 50% profit boost in the lobby right now. If you want to mix all sports together, there will be more NFL ones coming through as well. And you can just see what I've played so far. I'll probably tweet out a few more, maybe put some more into the newsletter a bit later on, but I played that very similar one if you wanted to as well. You can see Butte, Kamara, Stafford, Odunze, a bit different numbers. So you got like 3 more with Keishon Butte. You have a bit of a lower under on Alvin Kamara because I got those ones artificially boosted to get to the 6-1 for me. Roma Dunze, a lower longest reception, so that's nice. Matthew Stafford, 37.5 longest completion, but as you can see, it's 10-1, so it's 10.4-1. So the odds are better in this spot because we got slightly different adjusted numbers, and you can get the 30% boost applied to that right now. $50 pays 500. So those are the 4 that just jumped out to me right away as the week started. I'm gonna have a few more, and if you're ever looking to get yourself a bigger advantage on this, I've already won a few hockey ones this week. I tweeted those out, just taking the 3 best plays from the Sharp Stack app. 4for4.com/Mayo. Code Mayo50 gives you 50% off this app, which has everything in it and every single premium product articles, tools, doesn't matter what it is, at 4for4.com. You get a free week and then 50% off the monthly plan. You get your bet tracker. Let's see if there's any good ARBs this week. If there's a decent ARB with Jalen Daniels passing touchdowns in college football, at least. Maybe we can rig up a college. I'm not going to rig up a college one right now as we're doing this in live NFL show. But you can get all the projections for all the players in the NFL as well. You can get them for college football too if that's a route that you want to go down. So if you really just want to dig in, as you can see, like I talked about that Haskins thing earlier. See Hassan Haskins. Let's go to Los Angeles Chargers. Take a look at both of them here, and you can just find these in real time. They get updated as soon as injuries get updated. So Vidal is 1.5 rushing yards, so 9 to 8 in terms of projected rushing yards. This is the problem with a projection on a situation that you don't know. I am more willing just to take a stance and hope I'm right and have to live with the downside if I'm wrong here. That I think that one of these guys is going to be good. I think it's going to be Vidal. You can even say they have Haskins projected for more receptions and receiving yards, just very slightly by 0.02, but I would just think that would be Vidal. If I had to bet on one of them, it would be Vidal this week. You can see combined, they like Devin Achane's median projection half-point PPR is 15.75, 18 in that game. And you can see for Haskins and Vidal, combined, they're just slightly below that at like 17.5. Not to say that one is going to get all of them and the other one's going to get nothing. But even if you tilt that to like 66-33, all of a sudden you have a viable option on your hands if that's a risk you're willing to take. Maybe you don't need to take that option in your lineup. Now, hopefully you don't. Hopefully you have a better team than that. But for me, in some of these 14-team leagues, 16-team leagues where I spent money on Vidal, I got to go with him, and I made that choice during Fab. I put on bids on both of them. The higher one was on Vidal, so going into the week, those were my priors that I was sticking with Vidal. Now, if they go and trade for someone, I'm absolutely screwed. That happens, but that's just the way I'm looking at it. The other things that you can get to here, you can get the prop screen for every single game where you can shop each book to find the best number. The prop screen is up here too to find the best prop number. Someone even for like the London game, Beauregard Knicks. You can get him as low if you want to bet as over. You can get him as low as 223.5 at -115. If you want to bet as under, you can get 4 yards more, 227.5. These little differences add up, and it is a hassle to go individually check each one of these books. Just let the Sharp Stack tool do the heavy lifting for you. All the DFS tools and fantasy projections and League Sync are all in here as well if you're looking for them. I just thought that was very interesting. Let's take a look at what the best EV plays are right now, and maybe we can play these. This is -165, so you got to lay some wood here on Fanatics, but Bryce Young over 5.5 rushing yards, that actually is a fantastic play, even for 165. Let's see what his projections are this week. Bryce Young rushing yards 13.7, so he's projected for almost 3 times as many as this line hanging. And yeah, the juice is big, but yeah, you still got to take it. It's a great parlay piece if nothing else. I wonder what his underdog number is. I would guess it's probably like 11.5, 12.5. So you have a 7 yards of discrepancy here. Bryce Young rushing yards 10.5. I mean, the over on that is still pretty good, but let's see. Yeah, we bring him up here. Yeah, 10.5. If you got him down to 4.5. Yeah, I mean, you're right around where that is. I mean, that's actually not a bad piece, even for 0.7 if you really want to try to, maybe we'll try to juice something. I play a big play here and try to really go with it, but 4.5 rushing yards over 5.5 at -165. Some other plus EV plays to look at. 2 from the London game got Fields under 46.5 rushing yards, and then Josh Reynolds under 1.5 receptions at +130. You always feel like an absolute goober when this goes way over the number. This happened to me with Sharp Stack the other night. I'm 5-1 so far on NHL plays and props. Nice underdog winner that I gave out on Twitter the other day too. And I'm literally just going to NHL and taking the 3 best plays that are around like even money. I don't want to take like a +175, although it could be good value. It's just not what I'm looking for in this spot. And I try to get anything that's over 3. So nothing has materialized in that way yet. So I probably wouldn't play a Timo Meyer under 0.5 points, Kyle Connor under 0.5 assists, and Thomas Hartley under 0.5 points at minus 140. Just, I would want a bit more EV in the EV column of like 3 or higher. What we're seeing, my whole point was there was a high one the other day. It was under 1.5 shots for some guy on, I think, the Sabres, and he had 8 shots in the game. But if you lose with 2 or lose with 8, it doesn't really make a difference. It just feels like it makes a difference. That's what I'm saying about this Josh Reynolds prop, where he could have like 7 catches in this game because the Broncos just let him run free. There's no Allen Lazard. Fields find him for easy passes. But more than likely, he's going to be under 1.5. He's almost always under 1.5. So I always tend to get scared off if the computer tells me this is a really good play. But that's just a spot I could see. So Reynolds under 1.5, Fields under 46.5, and then Bryce Young over 5.5. Let's see if we can rig that one up as an underdog play. And I mean, you're always better off to play these individually than going through. But if you want the max payout for some of this stuff, this is what we're looking for here. I spelled Fields wrong because I'm an idiot. So Fields 46.5 under. So we have the 40 rushing yards right now is his overall line. We'll take 49 and go lower. This one's not going to pay a ton, obviously. And we have Josh Reynolds under 1.5. So Josh Reynolds. So the lower is juiced up a little bit more. So you're obviously better off playing these individually at the books, which we've seen already. So the Sharp Stack app will tell you the book that you can play them at and the best juice. Again, you can find that on the prop screen as well if you want to go to that game and find receptions and see what the juice is at other places. Like saving that money. You got to be like a little dicky out here and just take a look at some of these things. But let's find Josh Reynolds. Under 1.5 receptions at DraftKings is minus 102. So you would have to bet $102 at DraftKings to win $100. You play that same bet. Where the hell did we try to find that earlier? At Hard Rock. If you bet $100, you win $130 from that. So you're getting 32 cents of value by playing this at Hard Rock over DraftKings on the under of 1.5, if that's the side that you want to take. But just using the Sharp Stack app, 4for4.com/Mayo, you can hit both the links in the description to get those promo codes. You can find those very easily. Just it makes things easier on yourself to try to find what the best number is, and these are the best numbers right now. Let's see, do I want to use my boost on this? I'm probably going to get my Bootober stuff back and be able to use that. This only pays 3.65, but yeah, we can go through with that. $100 pays 365. Let's confirm that. We'll go with Fields under rushing, Josh Reynolds lower receptions, and Bryce Young with the adjusted higher than 4.5 rushing yards in this game. We're good to go. Hopefully that ends up being a winner, and we actually get to play it through into the early set of games from the London games. DraftKings ownership and pivots for week number 6. Obviously, John Tambo and I went over building lineups, the best pivot plays, but I did want to hit on the ownership for a minute here as we jump over and take a look at the DFS optimizer. That code Mayo50 at 4for4.com/Mayo will get you everything. It's actually pretty cheap if you just get the DFS package and you get all the tools and the Discord to go along with it, and all John's articles, which as a top 10 DFS player in the world, you probably want. As you can see, it's like McCaffrey, Javonte, Rashad White, Rico Dowdle, Josh Jacobs are the big 5 coming in. Kyron Williams is another one. Just a lot of people want to play Puka, and it's hard to play Puka and Kyron together, just like it's difficult to play McCaffrey. Here's the thing. Jonathan Taylor is going to be severely under-owned for what he should be because his price is outrageous. People are finding the 8,400 to play McCaffrey. They're finding the 8,800 to play Puka, but they are not finding as much the 8,500 to play Jonathan Taylor. If I'm stuck in between all of these guys, Jonathan Taylor is in a fantastic spot, projected for the second most points on the slate. It just seems like he is too, and I think that the 16 number right now is what they have him projected for is too high. I think he's going to come in right around 10% because he is so expensive that's how I would be trying to figure that out. If we take a look at the GPP values for the week, especially when we juxtapose it with the value, you can see yes, Judkins is a worse play than Rico Dowdle, but he's going to be around half the ownership. Just everyone is taking Dowdle for almost exactly the same price. If you really wanted to get tricky, another guy who projects out pretty well in that same spot that no one is playing, albeit in a much worse matchup, is Travis Etienne at $5,900. He's there with Judkins. He's there with Dowdle. Everyone's playing Dowdle. Then they're going to play Judkins for about half, and then half of Judkins, they're probably going to play Etienne. I mean, you don't need to save all the ownership anywhere. I just thought that was an interesting scenario that no one really wants to go to, and Etienne has frankly been really good this year. We take a look overall at the salaries of where we can find some of those soft spots. You can see like there's no Bucky Irving this week. There's no Omarion Hampton. And in terms of ownership, like no one's really playing Kenneth Walker. Probably shouldn't because he's splitting carries. No one's playing Derrick Henry. I understand that. ETN was the one that stuck out to me in that spot. 6%. He and Judkins both at $5,900. $100 more than Rico Dowdle is probably where I would want to go in that spot. Chase Brown is interesting too. It's the single worst matchup, but maybe he just ends up with like 7 catches again, and hopefully he finds his way into the end zone twice or something like that. I'm not actually playing him. I played 10 lineups. I didn't play Chase Brown in any of them. I actually didn't play any running back lower than Rico Dowdle, who I did play a lot of, obviously, but I tried to mix in Judkins and ETN into the same mix as well. Although it is a difficult matchup for Judkins, he is getting the ball every single time. And now there's rumors that Jerome Ford is on the trading block. So if they get rid of him, maybe see a bit more of Dylon Sampson again, but it's just all Judkins all the time on the ground. Projected ownership, as you can just see at the very top. Puka, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Egbuka, Pickens. Those 4 are going to be way up their own. Completely get it. They're great plays. Jamar Chase is a bad play, but 5% Jamar Chase. I put him into my Green Bay stacks, like a Green Bay overload, which is not very expensive without Jacobs. You get Love, you get Kraft, you get Golden and Dobbs, and then bring it back with Jamar Chase and just hopefully he catches bombs like he did last week. I won a bunch of money with Jamar Chase last week. I'm hoping to do the same thing again at 5% ownership. He is the type of guy that, yeah, it sucks. It's almost like I talked about earlier with Josh Reynolds in the prop game where you feel like an absolute tool when he has 7 catches and you bet the under of 1.5, but you also feel like it's the same thing. Like when you play Jamar Chase at 77 because, you could have played Smith and Jigba, who's been better than him, and almost every single week, except for those big spike weeks, for $100 less, you feel like an idiot. But when you get it right with Jamar Chase and he's 5% owned for $100 more and you lap the field, that's the game theory and the opportunity cost of playing Jamar Chase. You give up all that safety for the biggest boom, and that's how you get to the top of tournaments. Obviously, that depends. If you're playing single entry, 3 max, 20 max, or giant GPPs, that's more of a giant GPP play in that sense. I wouldn't be doing that in my cash games or in my single entries, but I tend to play everything like a giant GPP, so that's how I like to go in that spot. Overall, projected ownership, Puka, Diggs, Olave. I like Shaheed way more than Olave, as should you. Yeah, if you really desperately need the 11 points in your lineup, which you don't, you need way more than that. Olave's always your man. For a cheaper price at $4,600, Shaheed is, we saw it last week, he is the home run threat. He is the guy that will score you 25 points on 2 touches, and he's cheaper priced than Olave. Again, this is the GPP mindset that I'm playing with. I don't need the floor guy. I need the ceiling guy on the same team from the same game at way less ownership for a cheaper price. Makes the most sense to me. Plus, I think that he's returning kicks and punts now too, so maybe you can sneak it in that way. Play the old double dip. Shaheed and the Saints D if that's the way you want to go. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that's a way that you could play it. So yeah, Puka, way above everyone else. Diggs, Olave, Smith and Jigba, Egbuka, Tet McMillan, Lad McConkey, and Pickens. Lad McConkey is getting the big boost up only because we have that injury concern about Quentin Johnston at the moment. If you're just looking for good values, obviously Flournoy is going to check out really well, I would guess. Actually, he doesn't. Flournoy is of the cheaper option. He's the best. He's at $3,600. He's the best play. He and Shaheed are the best plays below $5,000 right now. Olave is up there above, but I'm not one to go do that. I'd want Shaheed. Kendrick Bourne's at $5,000. Actually, Juwan Jennings is at $4,800, I believe. That's actually a spot where I think that you can go to. Yeah, so Jennings, Flournoy, and Shaheed are probably my favorites of the $5,000 and below type players. You can see that Sterling Shepard is $3,800 with so many injuries going on in Tampa. If you wanted to stack up Baker with Egbuka, you could throw Shepard into that. You could throw Otten into that as well. We actually built that lineup out on Friday. We had the visual on the screen and how to fill that out. If you just hit the time codes of the DraftKings show on Friday and you want to check that out, not a lot of ownership is coming in that way. At tight end, it's going to be the big 4, even with McBride. I mean, if Jacoby Brissett starts, we're not going to get a whole bunch of McBride in this game, and his ownership will tank, and it'll go directly to Tucker Kraft, Jalen Warren, and Jake Ferguson. Those are the big 4 right now in terms of ownership. After that, it's Tunges, Michael Mayer. Don't love any of these guys. I'd probably just play Darren Waller, honestly, at $4,000. David Njoku at $3,500, or if you just wanted to take the K-Dot and stab at $3,400, that's the other route where I would go. I played Hunter Long in a lineup because that's just fun for me. He's a positive GPP value, which is not something that I thought I would see, but he's the min price. It's the only way that my lineup worked when I wanted to jam everyone in, and there's just not a lot of positive. Hunter Long actually is one of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are only 9 positive value GPP tight end plays this weekend. He is one of them, albeit at number 9, if that's the way you want to go. For reference, Jake Ferguson, Tucker Kraft, Hunter Henry, 1, 2, 3. Don't forget about me, says Hunter Henry in that spot. Quarterback, it's a bunch of goobers, as we kind of always have it. Herbert, May, Lawrence, and Mayfield are the 4 projecting over 10% right now. I'll have the updated ownerships in rankings in the Saturday evening newsletter. We still have to wait for more injury reports to come in to finalize these, and these update on the site in real time Saturday evening and again on Sunday morning, then again towards kickoff after the actives and inactives are released. So keep that in mind, that if you always just want to check back, 4for4.com/Mayo and Mayo50 to get 50% off that monthly plan. It's pretty cheap already, as I mentioned. Some of the quarterbacks that I'm using over my 10 lineups this week, you can see that I built them out. Mayfield, I used Herbert, Mayfield, Daniel Jones just for 1 and 2 Jordan Love lineups, I think. And I used a Bryce Young lineup as well because he's so cheap at $4,800. But a lot of people are using Lawrence. I'm just kind of staying away from that game, just picking off pieces, be it Hunter Long or Jackson Smith and Jigba. Those are really the only guys that I desperately want to go to outside of the quick pivot from Dowdle into Travis Etienne, just to make my teams a little bit different. Defenses, if you can get to the Packers, get to the Packers. If you can get to Indy, get to Indy. Packers, Dolphins, Titans, Raiders are the top 4 right now in terms of projected ownership. I really like the Browns at $2,500. And if you just have the money, the Rams are a fantastic play, and not everyone's going to them. The Rams, the Chargers, and the Colts are all projecting a lot lower than the Packers, despite being a cheaper price. That is where I would be going instead of just paying up for the Packers. If I was going to use the Packers, I would use Jacobs along with them and hope that is how the Packers do all its scoring in that game. But for cheaper prices, you can play just as good of attacking defenses against equally bad offenses for about a third to half the ownership that you're going to get with Green Bay. All right, it's the Browns that I like at the bottom at $2,500. And I did play a lot of Seahawks defense at $2,800 as well. That is the weekend cheat sheet for week number 6. As always, share the show. That means a lot to me. You got a question, dump it into the comment section. I'll try to answer it. The cheat sheet for the rankings is already available. That's at 4for4.com, or I've actually provided the link if you just hit the description. And I'll be sending out my newsletter cheat sheet later on with the final bets, the final props, the final injuries, and the final DraftKings ownership. One more update, because after this video is done, I can't update it anymore, so I'll send it out in a newsletter form, which you can subscribe to for free down in the description. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck in week 6. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!